This question is very hard to answer, especially in our ever-growing, unpredictable times, and as all the political activities and political processes are speeding up enormously. But what we have seen from the past is that authoritarian regimes are very prone to corruption. But at the same time, corruption is their worst enemy, because when you get to a point where you can avoid obeying the orders of the regime by bribes or favoritism or personal connections to the governing elite, the regime is being challenged. When you start going around all the rules that were designed to keep the dictatorship in place. But the threat is that these regimes might not always be replaced by democracies. They very often are replaced again by similar autocratic, authoritarian, authoritative, hybrid democratic, totalitarian, and other dictator kind of regimes that for which we have a lot of nice words, but the content is usually the same. We have seen a lot of coup d'etats, violent revolutions that did not result in better societies and more democratic governance. And this is where usually the individual sanctions against the leadership and governing elites, or even just the notion that these sanctions can be implemented, are very effective in preventing the regimes from getting too heavy on people. The democratic societies proved to be very predictable and very transparent, and therefore trustworthy for the economies and for money to be stored. This is why most of dictators actually keep their money, finances, and funds away from their own countries in the democratic states. And this is why it's very important to use the individualized targeted sanctions rather than broader economic sanctions that are usually affecting the most vulnerable people in those countries, and therefore exacerbate the existing closeness and hatred in the society. It's much easier to be implementing these individual sanctions and through them try to incentivize the regimes to slowly decrease their grip on fundamental human rights.